Before I actually start the video, I want to say two things. First, I hope anyone who is watching is doing fine and is safe amidst the pandemic that's happening. Second, this is my opinion on the topic, but I'm in no way an expert about it. This also extends to any concepts or subjects I bring up. Let's start. Personally, I'm amazed that only gaming news sites have talked about the auction Nintendo PlayStation. I thought that during the time the auction was reported or ended, it would be a big deal. I guess I'm the only one who thinks that. For the uninitiated, the Nintendo PlayStation prototype is the result of a Sony-Nintendo partnership that fell through. It was originally going to be an add-on peripheral for the SNES and Sony's hybrid console. Apparently, people thought this was a myth and didn't exist until its reveal in 2015 via a Reddit post. Fast forward to more recent times, news outlets reported that the item will be auctioned off through heritage auctions. The auction started sometime in February this year and ended on March 6. The Nintendo PlayStation was sold for $360,000 after 57 bids, with the identity of the winning bidder undisclosed. Quick side note, it was unnecessarily difficult to get the proper dates. Almost all the news sites I used for reference reported conflicting dates. That's why I used an unspecific date. I'm not even sure if the end date I used is correct. News outlets, please get your info sorted out. Anyways, if you're interested in learning more about the history of the Nintendo PlayStation, I'll leave some links in the video description. When I first saw the news, I was disappointed. Why? Well, I love history. I think history should be preserved and studied thoroughly. We have an item that, for all intents and purposes, is historical. My love for history might be bleeding into my gaming interests, but why auction it off? This could be in a museum, as cliche as it sounds. It's not a mere console anymore. It's actual proof of what started in 1988. As far as we know, it's the only one. Some reports state that around 200 prototypes were made, and this is the only survivor. I'm inclined to believe that since another one hasn't shown up since 2015. I'm gonna explain why I'm gung-ho for the museum angle. An obvious perk is that it can be up for display. You might not be able to touch it, but hey, it's still there. Another reason is I believe putting it in a museum makes it available for further studying and repairs. From my understanding, museums have the connections for that. I still think there are stuff we can learn or fix on the Nintendo PlayStation. I was hoping that with these come information that will be properly documented and maybe put under public domain. And I know some of you will bring up Ben Heck's work, and yes, his work is amazing. But you gotta admit that his exposure to the system, though more than the average person, is still limited. For what it's worth, I'd suggest using the information he shared as the foundation for this supposed document. Oh, and programmers too, not just engineers. Get some software or firmware to work. This might be naive, but maybe make an emulator of the prototype. I know it sounds stupid, but it's kinda cool to have homebrew apps for the system that was never released. Sadly, this is all wishful thinking. Moving on, I share Ryan Brown's concern. The possibility of this item being tucked away by a private owner never to see the light of day. We and the item, as exaggerated as this sounds, will be at the mercy of the new owner. Obviously, I don't want to judge, presume, or assume who the owner is. I mean, even if I can, that's a waste of time. The best thing we can hope for is that the new owner will be just as outgoing as the previous owners. The last thing I want to talk about is the amount the Nintendo PlayStation sold for. As mentioned earlier, it sold for $360,000, making it one of the highest bid for a video game auction item so far. I bring this up because the previous owners, at one point, turned down a $1.2 million offer from a Norwegian guy. To quote Kotaku, the reason to turn down the offer was because after paying taxes on that amount, splitting the remainder 50-50 with his son and paying off all his outstanding debts, he would pretty much end up with nothing. The reason why they're auctioning the item? I can't keep losing money. I've put a lot of work into this by traveling with it, and we have made nothing on it. Every trip that we have taken with it, it has cost us money out of pocket. Before I continue, I want to clarify that the upcoming statements do not intend to insult, dox, or humiliate the Diabolds. It's more of curiosity and just me being frank about the whole thing. Get it? Got it? Good. Let's continue. What he said made me think of the following things. Number 1. Why is ending up with nothing but being able to pay your debts a bad situation to be in? This makes me curious how much debt you have accumulated that despite splitting the money with your son and paying taxes will be sure to consume the majority of it. Number 2. Why didn't you try to negotiate with the conventions you visited to help pay with whatever they can? I admit I've never gone to a convention as a guest or speaker, and I don't know if negotiations for this are a thing. But I like to believe that they could have convinced them to maybe cover travel or hotel expenses if the events are far away, or get paid for being guests. Number 3. Why didn't you say, no, we can't go this time? Now I like to believe that they went to conventions anyway because they want to show the machine that it's for the love of retro gaming, or the goodness of their heart, or they're also enthusiasts. But you could have said no. I'm pretty sure people would have understand. Number 4, why didn't you give the item up sooner if it was costing you money? Maybe give it to a museum or a professional archiver. I don't want to sound like an asshole, but as far as I know, no one was forcing you to bring the item to places. Now, as contradictory as this sounds, I can understand why the Diabolds decided to auction the item. They're hoping to possibly get more than the $1.2 million offer. If you think about it, the item is there, so there really isn't anything wrong with maximizing possible returns. Terry has a family to take care of. He has debts to pay. He's even splitting profit with his son. There's just one problem though. Trying to get more than the $1.2 million offer is a possibility, not an assurance. Just because you auction it doesn't mean you can get more than the offer you turned down. I'm not an expert on how auctions work, but even I think people would want to win while bidding with the least possible amount of money to spend. It might have worked if the starting bid was $1.2 million, but you run into the case of the free market. The thing with auctions, as far as I know, is that the market will decide the worth of the item. Even if you think it's worth more than $1 billion, if people won't bid for more than 1,000, you're screwed. Not to mention we have to discuss about the average consumer and collectors, and that's just another rabbit hole I don't want to get into right now. All I can say is it's kinda ironic that the item was sold for what is approximately a quarter of the initial offer. I think some of us expected this to happen. There was no doubt that the item will sell since it's one of a kind. But since it's one of a kind, it's difficult to ascertain its true value. Let's hope that the new owner will continue to take care of this piece of gaming history. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.